6:41 past the hour. Live look at Capitol Hill. Joining us now from Capitol Hill, Republican Senator from Oklahoma and member of the so-called.
You're excited. Hold on. You're having trouble reading, just like Nicole, because she's like, Tom Coburn. It's you're excited, right? Because
excited.
Tom Coburn's here. Tom, I've known you for a very long time. The women on the set, they're getting flushed and excited because.
Well, you know he's going to be on the super committee.
I doubt it.
No.
So anyway, Nicole was just talking about how she'd wake up every morning and see where you were throughout the process because you've taken a real leadership role here. How do you think things turned out?
Well, I think the politicians won and America lost, is what I think. I don't know of any program that was eliminated. I don't know of any duplication that was eliminated. I don't know of anything that's set in stone that it can't be reversed with a vote of 60 people in the Senate. 98% of this whole thing, nothing happens on for another year and 5 months. We didn't cut spending to increase the likelihood we could protect our debt limit. I think the politicians, it was great theater, but in the long run, the country lost.
Well, Tom, I don't understand. You're saying that, and we've been talking about that this morning, and yet all the Democrats that came out last night in front of the TV cameras that I saw said that children were going to be starved and schools were going to be torn down. Richard Cohen suggests that criminals are going to be able to run free in the streets because of the massive cuts.
Look, Joe, there's no real cuts in this thing. There's $830 billion increase in discretionary spending over the next 10 years under this. $830 billion, almost $1 trillion more we're going to spend. So, we're playing the Washington game again, where we call a cut a slowdown in spending versus what America thinks of a cut is I'm going to spend less next year than I did this. And so, if $830 billion, and by the way, with our economic numbers looking the way they are, our pinch is going to get tougher, not easier. And so, I think we ought to be just dead honest with the American people. So there's just a lot of things we're just not going to be able to do. Let's get about solving them. And I don't see us do it. There's not one tax expenditure eliminated in this.
So
think about the loopholes that don't help anybody except a select few. None of it's addressed.
Yeah, and of course, this is called the debt deal, which, Nicole, we found to be quite curious. We had a chance, and Tom Coburn has put out a bill to save $9 trillion. Republicans had a chance to jump in and possibly get a $4 trillion deal, and they balked because they didn't want to tackle tax reform.
Right, and I guess I wonder if, you've been an advocate of tax reform, which involves closing loopholes and then lowering the corporate and individual rates. Do you think that in this political climate you could ever successfully argue on behalf of that, or will you always be stopped at closing loopholes as tax increases and all the alarms go off?
No, I think that, look, the American people get it. What you have to remember about tax loopholes is we're causing people to misdirect capital, which gives less benefit to us as a country as a whole through job creation. When you're directing capital to lessen somebody's tax liability versus increase the return on that capital from its employment, we actually hurt everybody, those that are paying taxes and those that aren't, because we eliminate opportunity.
But you'd have to hand out courage pills if you could get every Republican to make that argument.
What else is new about that in Washington?
All right. Go ahead, Harold.
Senator Harold Ford, good morning.
Hey, Junior, how are you?
I'm good, brother. I hope that the way Grover Norquist has been out asking people to sign pledges, I hope the Gang of Six, as an aside, gets out even in this next campaign and asks prospective Democrat and Republican senators to sign pledges saying, look, we're willing to take some of the courageous steps that you've laid out. The next step for you, how does the Gang of Six now try to influence this special committee?
Well, I think Harold, we have to first see who's on there, and we have to try to influence and say, here's the things we've learned, here's the things you can do. I really don't expect the committee to come up with anything, number one, because I don't think you're going to have people on there that will, there's going to be firm positions on both sides. That's number one, but they may. But number two is I don't expect the sequestrations to work either. 60 votes in the Senate does anything. We waived PAYGO 65 times last year. Just said, oh, well, the rules don't apply. And that's exactly what will happen in the Senate. So I don't think, and that's why I said 98% of the benefit to the country in terms of quote savings, which are not real savings, don't occur until November of 2012. So we're playing the game again. We're speaking right. The Americans said we solved the problem. We got together and we're going down the road. When in fact the truth is we're going to be in worse shape because of this, not better.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. There are no cuts in this right away.
There's no real cuts anywhere in this bill.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, the super committee you don't think will really come to anything in terms of cuts. And if they do you think, or if they don't agree, do you think the trigger mechanism will actually work, or will that fall apart too, in terms of your knowledge of how Washington works?
No, I think we'll bypass the trigger mechanism. We'll just say timeout, it doesn't apply. You know, one Congress can't bind the next, number one, and 60 votes in the Senate. Had you had this trigger mechanism in there and a 67 vote majority to get rid of it, to where the pain didn't come, then you would have had something. And we were trying to influence that while we heard this thing was going on, because that's what the Gang of Six agreed to. We're our own worst enemy. We need to guard against our bad habits, and a 67 vote and a special limitation on what you can call an emergency, because that's all they're going to do. We're going to have the droughts in the Southwest, Southeast, the floods in the middle, and it's going to come around to appropriation times. We're going to say, time out, we need about $60 billion to take care of these folks. And oh, by the way, we know we had a rule over here, but we're not going to live with it.
Senator Coburn, it's Willie Geist. We just had a months-long conversation in this country about the debt, effectively with a ticking time bomb on August 2nd waiting. The stakes couldn't have been higher, and yet you're saying we got essentially nothing out of it. So given that, what will it take to have a real conversation to get real cuts done? If we can't do it in this moment, what are the American people to think? How will we ever do it? How will we ever, in a serious way, tackle our debt and deficit?
Well, you know, Willie, I think we need to be, and maybe I don't belong up here. I think we ought to be really honest about how serious our problems are, because everybody seems to think we can just kind of keep going down the road and not addressing them. We are in big trouble. There's going to be a worldwide debt wall hit sometime this next year. It's going to impact us. We're starting to act and behave just like Greece. We're not making the hard choices when we should be making them. And when we make them later, they're going to be more painful than they would have had we made it now. And I think just real leadership in saying, we're not going to be able to do everything we said we were going to be able to do. Let's come together as a country. What's our number one commitments? What's our number two? Let's prioritize it. And where we have people to take care of, we can do that. And come over here and now on the things that are the choices, which one's most important and how do we do it better and more efficiently? You know, I put out a list of over 1,200 duplicative programs with the GAO. I put out $9 trillion of things you could eliminate. You don't have to agree with, but half of it you could agree with. If you've read that book at all, there's a ton of government stupidity in it. And yet we won't have the real conversation that we need to have in this country about what our problems are.
Okay,
no
Senator Coburn, thank you very much, I think.
Thank you, Tom. We greatly appreciate it. Good morning, Oklahoma. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Seriously.
All right, see you.
I will say, Nicole still had that dreamy look in her eyes. He belongs up there, and about 99 more, just
Up
like
next,
Oklahoma,
Chair of the
Alabama
DNC.
national championship game. You and Coburn will have
Debbie
another
Watson
conversation.
with on the emotional return of Gabby Giffords to the House floor. Keep it